Hey everyone, and welcome to this update of the Flameblast Elementalist Ignite Build that I'm playing solo self-found in the Sentinel League. I'm just going to quickly start off with the tier 14 map just to showcase where we're at right now. The last time I used a Jungle Valley map for the showcase, so I just thought it would probably be fair to use a tier higher this time. So we've received multiple, or we've been able to get multiple upgrades for the build. So it should be pretty clear that we are way better off now than we used to be. Our clear speed has gone up because we have Onslaught on our boots, which helps a lot with casting Flame Blast as well. So it reduces the amount of time that you have to stand still. I'll go over all of the other gear upgrades that I've received since last time, and then we'll take it from there. That was a scary Essence mob, Aracali influenced. Alright. So as you can see, still a lot of fun to do. This build, melt everything, and it's pretty easy to play. Pretty much just walk around and blow up screens with the Ignite Prolif and stuff. It's very easy. And let's just do a quick pull of our blue sentinel. The Vaal Flameblast pretty much clears that all up. Except for this one guy who decided to be a bit of a stronger feller. Oh, nice map drop for us there. Cool. So let's just go on, continue this map. So I spec'd a lot into Abyss because I wanted to get some multiple corrupted stat jewels. The fun thing about having that in this character is it works out just about every time this stuff is up, the new hold appears. I don't know what you call it. My Vaal Flameblast is up again, and I can pretty much one tap the whole screen. So it's a lot of fun to do. We also have a lot of health and a lot of defense, so it makes us pretty safe. And in general, we still have a long way that we could go with our gear. So there's a lot more damage we can get, there's a lot more defense we could get, and ideally that I want to get as well. The next big thing that I'm looking for right now is a shield that restores health on block. As you can see, this is the kind of jewels I'm looking for. Not this exact one, but the one with multi-stats. Yeah, this is gonna destroy my PC. The one with multiple stats like that. That map boss didn't quite work out the way I wanted to. It started attacking me before I could finish explaining what I wanted to say. So basically what I figured to be the best way to fight those bosses is you start off by tapping them with your Flame Blast. The reason you do that is to proc the convergence. Then what you want to do next after that is you want to curse him, flammability. Then I use my malevolence and use my enduring cry right afterwards, so it'll give me endurance charges, also restore my HP that I lost for using malevolence. And then I use Vaal Flameblast, and then while Vaal Flameblast going off, I channel this to 10, let it go, and then use my last Warcry Infernal Cry that applies a covered in ash debuff on the enemy. So it seems like a lot, but it's really easy if you get used to it, and it's a lot more damage than not doing it. So just quick tap, curse, that, and then Flame Blast, Vaal Flameblast, and then Warcry for cover in ash. So let's just quickly go over some of my gear upgrades I've gotten. So this is my new scepter instead of the +1 wand. Ideally would want +1 to fire gems on the scepter as well, and damage over time multiplier or fire damage over time multiplier, but this is the general stats that you want on the scepter, excluding those two. Ideally would want those two on here. But like I said, I'm SSF, so I can only get what I'm dealt with, right? Then the biggest upgrade that I've received to the build is this glove. So I've used the Eldritch currencies on it, and the biggest one here is the inflict exposure on hit that I get. So every time I hit with Flame Blast, it inflicts that exposure. The reason why this is big is it triggers the exposure here on our Mastermind of Discord, and you regenerate 1% of mana if you've inflicted exposure recently. And that is basically good enough to solve our mana throughout mapping. So as you see, if I channel Flame Blast here in my hideout, I do struggle with mana. But if you do this in map, you can always channel them fully because of that interaction between our gloves with exposure and our ascendancy. And obviously fire time multiplier, and the rest of this glove is just defense and life. The other big thing that I got is Ignite's inflict damage 9% faster when you're next to unique enemies. And then the other cool thing about this boot is you get a chance to an onslaught on kill. So I was pretty lucky with the boot itself. It was an unveil from a syndicate. For my shield, I also got a small upgrade. It's basically just the 2% max all raise. That's a big deal here. The rest is just basic defenses. Ideally, you want a shield that gives you some recovery on block, which is what I really desperately need on this build still. So I was considering speccing into this. That'll give you 50 energy shield on block, and then this node that'll give you 20 mana and 20 life on block. Or some sort of recovery shield, which I don't currently have yet. You can also try and fit in vitality to your build if you maybe drop the Defiance better, for example. And then while I'm talking about auras, so I've changed up my auras. I'm just going to look at the top here. But since I took out Purity of Elements, because I realized they added shock immunity on Tempest Shield and freeze immunity on Arctic Armor, I started using those two. Then the only element that I'm vulnerable to is fire. So you'll probably just have to drop Arctic Armor and Flesh and Stone if you do want to go for Grace in combination with Determination, which is a perfectly fine option. I just had a lot of issues solving Dexterity, and this is just the easy way to do it without having a lot of Dexterity. So the reasons I chose Flesh and Stone: I take 11% less damage from enemies that aren't nearby. The reason I chose Arctic Armor for this build is you're obviously stationary while channeling Flame Blast, so you get less physical damage taken and less fire damage taken, which I thought would also help with the fact that I'm not fire element immune. And then obviously this gold, or the slow that you get this 0.5 second chill on hit is also great to help you stay alive a little bit more. I'm res capped on all of these, so even 77% chaos raise, which is pretty great. And I'm just not attack block capped, which is not too bad. There's nothing else major to mention. I'll link my POB in the description if you want to go over all my items and gem links and all that stuff. But as it currently stands, I'm using Flame Blast, the Vaal one, with burning damage support, cruelty, immolate, ignite, prolife, and combustion. Also, I've currently spec'd into mental rapidity. It's just to channel this a little bit faster without using faster casting in my gem links. But if you get some nice cast speed on your weapon, which I have none currently, I think you can also drop these. So then it's 3 more nodes you can use. And then what you can use those nodes for. So the plan going forward for me is to do a cluster jewel setup and invest some of those points there. So ideally I would want to use these 3. I would maybe take off these bottom 2 nodes, take off this node here, that node there, maybe the aura effect, I'll still decide about that, and maybe some of this stuff I'll take off this branch, and then go into full clusters. So there's one I can go here, which is close by, and there. So depending on how I get your jewels dropped and rolled, I might take all of that. And also you can take this for more damage if you so choose. I'd probably take the effect of non-damaging ailments, since our ascendancy that I end up going with is shock, which will increase the effect of shock, which will be great for you. You also get a pretty high shock effect I've found on Flame Blast, so this is pretty strong. The Bastion of Elements, which is also a very valid ascendancy option, I would not take it with this variant of the build that I'm playing. So I'm going super high defense, so I have 71% physical damage reduction and no evasion. So basically, whenever I'm hit, I'm taking the damage. And it is not something that I think would be useful to have Bastion of Elements. But if you go like an evasion version of this build, if you like evasion more and use Grace as well as maybe Ghost Dance, I think that could be a good combination with those two. But this is what I end up going with. I might try the Grace version of the build, and I'll probably talk about it in my next update on this build going forward, and let you know if this is maybe something that I think is better or worth considering instead of using Flesh and Stone and Arctic Armor, for example. But then I'll just have to figure out how to solve freeze immunity. Regardless, this is where I'm right now. Going forward, there's a lot of upgrades you can do. My amulet is pretty bad at the moment. So with the amulet going forward, you can do +1 dexterity gems, +1 fire gems. You can also use the recombinating currencies for jewelry to try and get a +1/+1 amulet, which is what I ideally would want to go for in the future. The only thing you need to solve on this build, which I'm not completely done with yet, is better sustain, which could come from leech, damage recovery on block. I've also considered doing damage taken recoup this life, because it just needs that little bit more sustain for this build to be really strong. If you're interested, at the end of this video I'll put in a clip of me fighting Exarch last night, so it's with the same exact gear as I have on right here, just to give you an idea of truly solo self-found damage that you're able to achieve. So this build has a bright future, no pun intended with the Ignite thing, and as you can see, with only 75% invested to life on the tree and that amount of life, it's naturally tanky and easy to play. And of course, it's just great fun to blow up a screen of enemies with Flameblast. If there's anything in this video that I mentioned that you do not agree with, please feel free to let me know in the comments, or if there's some improvement or better argument that can be made to use something else, or anything you feel worth mentioning, please feel free to let me know. I'm just discovering these things as I go on, and if you have a better idea that can help someone watching this video, please let us know in the comments. Anyway guys, thanks so much for watching. I hope this helped you. If it did, please consider to like and subscribe to the channel. If you like these kind of off-meta builds, I'm going to be making many more of them, and this might just be where you get your next idea for your crazy build. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.
Your absurd defiance ends here, hatchling.
Hatchling?
The Atlas must remain mine.
Disintegration. Cleansing. Annihilation. Disintegration. Cleansing. Annihilation.
I need more mana.
Annihilation. Incineration. Annihilation. Disintegration.
Ow. It's this debuff. Why do I have the debuff going into this?
I shall extinguish them all.
You do not have the strength, hatchling.
Hatchling?
But I am not alone.
How pathetic.
Ow. Where are you?
Incineration.
Oh no. That's the wrong one.
Disintegration. Cleansing. Cleansing.
Cleansing, cleansing. Okay, this is all I need to somehow survive. This is a bad habit I have. So I infernal cried because I'm used to when I did boss fights I had my flame dash there.
Annihilation. Incineration. Annihilation. Disintegration. Cleansing. Annihilation. Incineration.
Trying to invade my ashes.
Huh. Quarterstaff.